Hi, David. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Would you be able to share your screen with us, please?
Yep.
Done that already. Great.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. My name's David Bedford. I am a librarian at the Drill Hall Library in Medway, which means that I work simultaneously for the University of Kent, the University of Greenwich, and Canterbury Christ Church University. Which, yes, can sometimes be vaguely confusing, but I do love it, and I've been doing it for 10 years. So you would hope that if someone's been doing that for that long, they would love it. I kind of feel like I should apologise. This is the very basic set of slides, so not as visually exciting as we have had. But I'm here this morning to talk briefly about how academic departments and librarians can work together through digital education to help students develop important skills for university and for life beyond graduation. Basically, my job doesn't work without collaboration with a whole host of different people, including, of course, learning technologists, as well as academic departments. And I'm going to touch on three things: signposting, embedding, and resources. And I'll draw on some examples from the various different library teams that I am part of. So the simplest way of working together is signposting, basically pointing students towards the support that the library and the library services have for them. This can include encouraging students to book a meeting with their librarian, obviously at the moment handled through Teams or other similar platforms, where we can explore how they can find effective ways to find and manage the information that they need for their assignments. These sorts of meetings tend to be particularly popular with dissertation students. Library teams also often offer workshops that are open to everybody, but we have found that students are much more likely to book one-to-ones or to attend these workshops if either they already know their librarian or if the academic department sort of endorses this and sort of suggests it. You can also signpost students to resources that we create in the library, such as subject guides, which most libraries have, and these cover information sources for different disciplines, different subjects, different programs, and how to get the best out of them. I'm sure, and well, no, I'm not sure. I know that I'm not alone in having spent quite a lot of time over the last year refreshing and updating the guides that I am responsible for to make them as valuable as possible as a tool for students while they're not able to come onto campus. So covering not just what's available, but how to get the best out of it. We also do things like producing short how-to videos. So I've been creating those for some time, but the amount of video resources that I've made available has more than doubled, something more like tripled since the pandemic began. And we also have kind of online in-depth modules covering a range of different skills, and each of the library services that I work with has got a resource of this type. Some of them openly accessible, some of them available to students and staff through the VLE, which some of these are in conjunction with academic skills tutors or learning developers. Some of them are purely librarian things. If you're not sure what your particular library has got available, definitely ask your librarian. I try, and we all try, to be really proactive about getting information about these resources out to schools that we work with, so that students can be pointed towards them. And I definitely flood my social media presence with them as well. But there must be more ways that we could use to kind of get the word out to students. The next thing is embedding. So librarians as teachers is definitely a thing. It's taken a while for our profession to be more comfortable with this idea of being teachers, but we really are. And we have professional expertise in finding, selecting, understanding, managing, referencing information in a whole variety of forms. And our phrase for this is information literacy, which we would argue very strongly is absolutely essential for 21st century life, and has become even more so now that obviously digital online is currently such a huge part of our lives. So although I mentioned generic workshops that we can offer, we tend to find that what we do works best when it's actually embedded as part of an academic programme. One reason for that is that it means it's because information comes in very different forms and is used in very different ways across different disciplines. So, for instance, I mostly support students on programmes relating in some way to health or education, and they don't use the same sorts of information in the same ways as, say, engineering might. And also, we find that if things are embedded in a particular programme, it allows both us and the students to draw really clear links between the knowledge and skills that we cover and the rest of their curriculum. And we can help to encourage what we would call critical literacy, really thinking about where information comes from, why it even exists in the first place, and how to ask questions about what people are reading or watching or whatever. I think recently we've really benefited from being able to flip some of what we do so that some of that instructional how-to stuff can be covered in short pre-learning tasks, and the time that we spend live with students, it can be warmer, more conversational. We can work through threshold concepts and how people engage with things. So I have a particular interest in people's emotional engagement with information, and particularly the anxiety that can arise with the amount of information that's available. And that's much more possible when we've got the time to really unpack that, rather than kind of explaining the hows of how to do things. And we've really welcomed opportunities to co-design and sometimes co-deliver teaching as well. I obviously have done that pre-pandemic, but recently I had a Teams session on literature searching and critical thinking for a large number of pharmacy students, and that session was jointly developed and facilitated by me and by a member of our academic staff, drawing on both of our strengths and being able to reinforce a lot of what each other were doing, which I certainly found energizing, and I hope my colleague did as well. Normally, what we would do would be happening in an IT lab where we can get immediate hands-on practice of things. We can wander around the room, talk to students, encourage them. That's really difficult in the online environment, because students are understandably really reluctant to share their screens with a group. But I've found that tools like Microsoft Forms can work really well with this. So in a live session, I can encourage people to do an activity which is structured through Microsoft Forms, which gives me instant feedback on how many people have done it, how well they were doing, what their struggles were. And also you can do self-directed activities for the point when students wish to engage with them outside of a live session. So for one particular foundation module I support, I created 3 short bespoke packages of asynchronous learning for different points during the semester, using videos, text, questions for reflection, activities, little Microsoft Forms quizzes. And the take up of this was much better than I was pessimistically expecting, particularly for the referencing bit, which maybe I shouldn't have been surprised by.
Minute and a half left, David.
Cool, thank you. This can only happen when we work together to ensure that what we create is relevant to the students and that students are encouraged to engage with it. So the third way we can work together is relating to resources. So a recent example for this is a member of academic staff asked me about digital material regarding anatomy and physiology. So as well as being able to point out ebooks, I was able to provide details of other material the library provides, like videos, images, interactive tools that could then be used to aid her students' learning. So I would definitely encourage you to talk to your librarian about what might be available for any topics that you're teaching. And one of my colleagues from the University of Kent has done some work with her subject guides recently, including recommendations from academic staff about particular resources, which is a fantastic way of collaborating, I think, and showing the value of what the library provides. So that was a massively whistle-stop type of tour of things. I would definitely encourage you to talk to your librarians about how we can work together for everyone's benefit and building up skills around the use of information. I'm happy to send through some links to examples of all the stuff that I was talking about today to put onto the Teams, if that's okay. My contact details are now on screen if anyone wants to make a note of those and ask me more about anything. And I think hopefully I should have left plenty of time for questions if any have been posted. So thank you very much for listening.
Bang on time, David. Thank you. Great. And if it would be possible, could you share send me your slides so I can put them on the team as well, just so people can have another look.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, great presentation. Thank you, David. Nick or Steve, do we have any questions for David?
I have a question, if I may. I was just wondering in what kind of ways the support that you provide for schools and students has changed since moving to primarily being online, and what the kind of the positives from that have been, and what you might continue even if we do go back to sort of face-to-face teaching. I
think the creation of kind of standalone learning objects has been really beneficial, and certainly I've seen that I've been looking at the statistics for the use of those, and they are really well used, which has been surprising but really encouraging. And certainly I will continue to create things like that, particularly as we have a number of distance learning students anyway in a number of the departments that I work with. And I think really thinking about the value of the face-to-face time as well, and being able to use that to, as I said, kind of engage with how do people feel about the tasks of finding, evaluating, selecting information has been really positive. I did quite a bit of that anyway, but being able to think about, okay, well, if 10 minutes before the class are spent engaging with this, then we've got more time to be able to think through that sort of stuff, which brings much more value to the live time that I can spend with students.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Anonymous has asked, did you find issues with encouraging academics to move away from paper reading lists, and was the library able to promote other e-resources? I don't know if you can comment on that at all.
Yeah, I think the biggest difficulty with that is time. So I know that some academic staff have said they just haven't had time to look at the reading lists at all because of the demands of other areas of the teaching, and so they've just kind of hoped that we can get as many things electronically and digitally as possible. Because but some have been able to have worked really closely with us and sort of said, okay, well, this text isn't available digitally, what can we do? What else can we offer? What do you already have? What's available that we don't already have? So I think it depends on stress levels, time, and those sorts of things.
Okay, cool. And just one last one quickly. How have you managed to get students to engage with learning objects and materials ahead of the sessions that you run?
I can't, but my academic colleagues can. If I suggest it, no one will. But if to be honest, because why would they? A lot of them, they may not know who I am before the session. So, but if my academic colleagues can sort of encourage and say why this is an important thing, and so why is the live session happening at all? Why are there pre-session activities? Then they do get engaged with.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I think that comes to time just about.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. And there is one comment in the chat that's getting quite a few likes, and I completely agree with it. It says librarians are great sources of knowledge and can advise those with tricky copyright issues. So yeah, well done. Just keep up the good work.
Thank you.